The aim of this vlog is to highlight a skill and capacity limitation in a speed and change of direction or agility drill. Some example skill limitations could be historical familiarity, timing, coordination and technique, whilst capacity limitation examples could be mobility, force, previous injury history, biomechanical deficiency, and in some cases body mass. This is not an exhaustive list, and there could be many other limitations not mentioned here. Outcomes aim to identify the limitations with supporting evidence that goes on to provide recommendations of how these exercises can progress onto safe and effective drills to develop limitations in skills and capacities. Watching this athlete, there are some clear limitations in both motor skills and capacities. The rationale for using this athlete to focus on a capacity limitation is that she seems to be able to get into a pretty good starting stance with evidence of understanding the forward lean and why that it is needed. Some skill limitations to point out would be that she could stay lower for longer out of the start to maximise the power through triple extension. She could also lift her chest more and a straighter back, better for vertical alignment, and again increasing the power through the triple extension. However, knowing the athlete's back squat 1 rep max is less than her body weight and watching her maximum velocity, I think this is the first thing to fix, i.e. improve the capacity for her to be able to look at the skill. So I would like to look at her reduced capacity and develop her strength and power. I'd first look to build some strength foundations until the point where she's able to back squat about 1.5 times her body weight. Once the general strength has been improved through a variety of lifts, we'll look at introducing power training. Examples of that would be some hip extension activities, Olympic lifts and Romanian deadlifts. To aid the initial acceleration propulsive forces needed, I will build in some concentric work through tempo variation, as this portion is greatest in the early acceleration phase. Once the maximal force capacity has been improved, I would introduce the Olympic lifts such as hang and power cleans to develop the rate of force development, then move on to more plyos for stretch shortening cycle improvements. Example exercises here would be squat jumps, tuck jumps, split jumps, pogos and boundings. As a beginner, these plyos would only be twice a week, initially 2 to 3 exercises per session, about 30 to 80 contacts per session, with 2 to 3 minutes recovery in between. Throughout this program, the acceleration drills will continue with specificity exercises to promote the rate of force development, such as the resisted start and sled pulls. To summarise the rationale behind choosing the strength and power capacity limitation was purely that I think if you build a bigger engine, the rest of it will tick into place and the skills can be worked on throughout, but I think to get the foundations in place first is more important at this stage for this athlete. The following athlete that we see is a full-time personal trainer, recreational long-distance runner and adventure race competitor. Through his own admission, his strength worth is depleted due to the current and prolonged lockdown from COVID. Initial thoughts before seeing the athlete run were that his acceleration and maximum speed mechanics should be okay and that his capacity through force production might be the priority. As we can see in the clips of his acceleration drills, there are some areas that immediately stand out. For that reason, I've chosen the limitation that I feel needs addressing first is his skill due to the technique deficiencies in the acceleration, i.e. his body position. By remembering that strength and power during the start and acceleration phase of a sprint can be understood more clearly by remembering that sprinters develop force to overcome inertia when their feet hit the ground, this requires large movements through the hip, knee and ankle to extend the lean on the ground. As the athlete accelerates, they will transition to more upright posture, which we're seeing in here. Here we see the athlete is a good lower body angle, but is pivoting from the hip, creating a vertical upper body. For more optimal force development, we would want to see a straight line from head to ankle at an angle that allows for the greatest power drive. There will be an element of capacity work for strength and power that will undoubtedly help this, but the athlete in this clip, due to their current back squat deadlift 1 rep max scores of 1.5 and 2 times respectively, can afford to focus on the skill limitation. I would spend some time promoting the range of motion and technical elements whilst reinforcing teaching points in a specific warm-up with exercises such as knee hugs, high knee to lunge, laterally to focus on the positive knee drive with some teaching cues to allow and support that. Structuring the session with short sections of 10 to 30 metres with relatively long recovery periods, I would develop the athlete's limitations through the wall drives to reinforce and teach correct positive body position and leg action, some incline sprints for general leg extension power, and to experience the forward lean, sprint starts from the ground over short distances, and some resisted sprints with a sled or a coach assisted with bands. To summarise, the rationale for choosing the skill limitation for this athlete was due to his pre-existing strength and power abilities and the need to focus on what I thought was the priority right now, which was his body position and understanding of the skill for the acceleration phase. For the next example, I've chosen a 180-degree cut drill which aims to develop quick transition between high-speed agility movements. This is an ideal drill for this sprinted middle distance obstacle course racer. As we can see, he adapts an early upright stance which will immediately deaccelerate his speed earlier than needed. As he approaches the cone, his body starts to adapt into a pretty good positive angle for the change of direction, which will promote the rate of force production out of the cut. After viewing the athlete from multiple angles, he then completes a battery of tests for mobility, strength, speed and agility. The test showed above average results in most areas apart from the Illinois run. For this reason, combined with my initial observations, I'm going to use this athlete to show a skill limitation due to his lack of understanding on how to stop efficiently and change direction, having never been taught. Initially, the athlete completes a box step-off landing assessment, as some research has shown that it can be a good way to determine readiness to train for an agility program. Firstly, we developed a better understanding of how to stop more efficiently and adopting an athletic stance. This helps to build confidence in the athlete's own performance and when to deaccelerate. Progressing on to some unilateral drills such as bounds to promote the stretch shortening cycle, introducing line drills such as hops forwards, backwards and laterally, leading on to ladder drills, then a 90-degree cut focusing on dropping into the previously taught good athletic position to make the sharp lateral cut. Other ladder drills like a lateral 1-2 stick will help promote a more efficient cut to improve the overall performance. And finally, I might introduce a med ball pass to the coach, followed by an immediate cut and accelerate to promote the upper body rotation, whilst verbally cueing to look where you want to go. The next athlete is a personal training client demonstrating her first zigzag cutting drill, which aims to develop quick transitions between high-speed agility movements. In this first attempt, we see the athlete's initial drill lacks pace and commitment to the cut. The outer foot placement in the cut seems excessive and would reduce the amount of force production due to the overly external placement. This forces the athlete to add a further step to the next direction, which in turn becomes a gradual running circle, demonstrating the athlete's potential inability to decrease speed into the cut, possibly down to limitations in strength. The negative shing angle also leads to think that there are some unilateral strength limitations. The athlete fails to demonstrate positive shing angles, deacceleration potential and unilateral force production. Evidence shows that a high amount of eccentric strength is needed to quickly and efficiently deaccelerate while maintaining dynamic balance in preparation for a directional change. Agility training also requires strengthening of the trunk stabilization muscles, especially in the cut. If this is not evidenced, the directional change will take much longer. Looking at the athlete's first attempt, I'm going to conduct a battery of strength and mobility tests to support my justification that this athlete lacks the capacity for this drill. Test concludes some capacity limitations. So to start, I'm going to introduce some bilateral and unilateral resistance exercises such as back squat, forward, backward and diagonal lunges, single leg squats, box step ups, leg bounds and single leg hops. To develop the trunk stabilization muscles needed, I'd look at glute bridges, planks, mountain climbers, GHD back extension and hip rolls. Strength test results such as deadlift and back squat further demonstrate a large limitation in capacity, supporting the overall rationale behind the justification for this capacity limitation. In summary, due to the current pandemic and accessing athletes for this vlog, I've had to use family and neighbours. Due to some of the personal abilities, I appreciate that limitations exist in all participants for skills and capacities. I have given a rationale for my chosen limitations and supported with evidence and provided recommendations for improvements.